All right, well, welcome to the Michigan Kinesiology Alumni Spotlight Series. I am here with Matt Margol, who's a 2016 graduate of the School of Kinesiology in the IOM program. And for those of you that don't know what IOM is, it is Intraoperative Neurophysiological Monitoring, which is a mouthful that took me some practice to make sure I say the right way. Matt, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We've got a lot of questions for you about your U of M experience, but I think the first question I just want to start with, so people have some context, is what is IOM? Can you explain that? Because I graduated in 2004. We didn't have IOM in the program then, so I don't think a lot of people really know what this even is.
Sure. So it's a relatively new program. When I started, there were only 2 graduating classes before me. So when I had gotten started there, it was a new program. And what it does is it focuses on neuromonitoring. So monitoring the nerves in the brain and the spinal cord during operative procedures. So different brain surgeries, spine surgeries are kind of the bread and butter, but really anywhere where the nerves are at risk or any sort of injury can occur. They're there monitoring different modalities, the motor systems, the sensory systems, just kind of making sure that that stuff remains intact.
Wow, very, very, very cool. And like I said, knew very little about it. And you've taken this as a undergraduate major, and now you've transitioned this to going to medical school, and you're at Emory University in Atlanta for medical school. I think you were telling me that you're in a surgical rotation right now. Tell me a little bit about how the INOM program at U of M and just your experience as a whole at U of M prepared you for this transition to what is a very rigorous med school curriculum.
Sure. So I always knew I wanted to eventually go into med school. Kind of growing up right around middle school, I was like, I think being a doctor is what I want to do. Had no clue how I was going to get there. And right around the time I was applying to colleges and everything is when they started to get rid of pre-med majors. So before you could major in pre-med, take your basic science classes, and then, you were set and you'd eventually head to medical school. And by the time I got there, there was no pre-med major. So I was like, all right, I'll look at this as a positive. I can do what I want to do. I can find something that's interesting to me, find something that will intrigue me where I can get all my, my prerequisites and take it from there. And I took a bunch of classes my freshman year, and I happened to be in a movement science class just to say, grew up playing sports, grew up interested in sort of the exercise physiology side of things. Let me take this class. And Josh Maragos, the IOM program director, gave a lecture and started talking about, brain monitoring, spine monitoring, all these things during surgery. And I was hooked instantly. I think I sent him probably 3 emails freshman year, and he's like, well, the program doesn't start till junior year. So I had to wait a little bit, but eventually started the program and spent a few years before medical school in the program. And, it really guided my interests and helped me find not only a way to get to medical school, but a passion and something that I study and have done research on as well.
Yeah, do you feel, because I feel like this is a highly specific kind of major that is maybe more applicable to the medical profession than many undergraduate degrees you can get. Do you feel like that was a differentiating factor for you when you were applying to medical schools?
Absolutely. I think that, you can always do biology, you can do psychology, and those are also great majors. But, having this, first of all, such a long name that everybody, that's always the question is, so what exactly was this, or what exactly were you doing? And it's a great, great way and great thing to get into. But, Michigan's the only program, at least at the time that had this and was an undergraduate 4-year degree university offering these courses and allowing you to graduate with this certificate and this certification and to perform this in real surgeries. And so, that allowed me to have these experiences and add those things together and have OR time and have patient interaction time that I wouldn't necessarily have gotten from another major.
Yeah. Talk about how hard it is to get into med school, because I don't think the average person understands the challenges of getting in a competitive environment that's med school. Speak to that for a second.
Sure. So it's definitely tough. I personally, it took me a couple tries, and I took 2 years off in between undergraduate and medical school to gain experience, gain patient interaction, do research. And, it's a long process, the applications, the interviews, very nerve wracking. But, when you have that passion for it and you have that drive for it, the best advice I can give to anybody is, just kind of put your head down and just keep pushing ahead, because once you get there, it's worth it. And, again, medical school also, of course, it's no walk in the park. It's not easy, but, you're at what you want to do and you're doing what you want to do. So, just pushing through those difficult things to get there is the key.
Awesome. What's your end game in medicine from your perspective? What are you looking to specialize in?
So I'm thinking surgery right now, which is great that I'm on my surgical rotation now, wearing the scrubs and everything. So that's the sort of general field that I'm looking into, which is great because that's, again, the experience that I had. And I'd love to, take my undergraduate education and things I learned through my IOM program and bring those to, the physician side of things. Because, there are some physicians that work with it, but certainly not every surgeon knows about it, and certainly not every surgeon utilizes it. So I'd like to take both of my experiences and combine them and sort of form a hybrid.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. And very, very, very well prepared academically for that kind of a path. That's awesome. So let's switch gears. We talked about kind of the formal medical school and academic curricular things. Let's switch gears to something a little more fun. This is homecoming week. So tell us your favorite homecoming memory from when you were an undergrad.
Sure. So, I thought really long and hard. Of course, a bunch of great Michigan sports moments kind of in general. A lot of ups and downs throughout my 4 years there, and plus my years of being a fan afterwards. And I think my top sort of sports moment from Michigan was my freshman year. It was when we were in the Sweet 16 and Trey Burke hit that kind of last second 3-pointer against Kansas to take us into overtime eventually to win. And I was watching the game with a bunch of my friends in a house. And first of all, we all went crazy and it was, screaming and excited. But once we calmed down, or if you opened the door, if you opened the window, just every house on the street was doing the exact same thing we were doing. And that was really cool because, you're in your bubble of like, oh, this is exciting, we're going crazy, but everybody around you was reacting the exact same way. And that was, for me, I think that was one of the most memorable moments.
That's awesome. What a super cool time to be on campus. We were talking before we started the interview, and I think it's a neat thing to bring up. You told me you were originally from Southern Florida, and I always wonder why someone that lives in Florida would ever come up to Michigan for anything, given our winters. But tell us a little bit more of the story that you were telling me about how you came up here, they were doing the orientation, and they played the video. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I went on my kind of junior year college tour, kind of bunch of schools in state, out of state. Being originally from Florida, not a lot of people stay in state, so didn't have a lot of exposure to out of state people. So Michigan was actually the first out of state school that we toured, and sat in on the admissions info session and heard a bunch of the interesting statistics. And at the end, they played a video, and they had Hail to the Victors playing. They had football scenes from all over campus on the diag and everything. And I'm pretty sure James Earl Jones was narrating it. And I just, that voice, of course, sticks in my head. And my mom told me afterwards that she looked over me in the middle of the video and I was just wide-eyed, as wide as your eyes can be. And she said that was the second she knew that was where I was going to go, that I'd be going to Michigan. She said the other schools I visited didn't stand a chance. She felt bad that was the first school we went to because she knew I wasn't paying attention on the other interviews.
Yeah, that's what I think we all know that video. That's the video they play before football games. And James Earl Jones' voice can get you fired up for a lot of things. And you combine that with Michigan, and it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
So let's think a little bit broader now to your Michigan experience beyond just the sports arena. Is there any particularly memorable moments just as a whole that you had when you were here? I mean, it could be academic or otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we mentioned one of the big things for me was, finding this major and this concentration within this major. And that was, for me, a huge part of my life that shaped me. And also, so that's definitely one very big thing for me. And, we kind of mentioned before, being from Florida, coming up and bearing the Michigan winters, I had seen snow maybe 10 times before in my life, a week at a time on a family vacation, that kind of thing. And, one of the things that kind of jumped in my head kind of instantly, if I thought about that, was, my junior year in January, we had like the first snow day, I think in almost 40 years that Michigan had ever had. It was, wind chill into the negative 20s and things like that. And as a Florida person, I had never had a snow. We had hurricane days. So I had never had a snow day. And I think I was just so shaken by that and in awe by that. And there was tons of snow that year. I mean, feet and feet of snow. And I think that was one of the most memorable moments of like, okay, we're not in Florida anymore. I always had my people, my friends from Florida, family from Florida, everybody's like, oh, you're going to Michigan, or you go to Michigan? It's cold there. And I'm like, it is cold there, yes. But, it's, in the end, it was worth it. And I would recommend it to anybody, even from Florida.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the IOM program. I mean, kinesiology is a small school in this big, massive university. And I have a feeling that, IOM is even a smaller school within the small school that is kinesiology. Talk about the relationships with the faculty and your classmates in a program that was of such a small size.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that was a big distinguishing factor for me in choosing the School of Kinesiology and choosing the IOM program. Is I take these biology classes, and they would be, 400 or 500 people in huge lecture halls. And that's not the experience in kinesiology. It's classes of 30, maybe an anatomy lecture might have 100 people, but it doesn't get much bigger than that. And you're absolutely right. In IOM, I graduated with about 13 people. So, you became very close with them, waking up early in the morning to go to the hospital, staying late at night. You form great relationships with them, and you form, outstanding relationships with the staff. Josh Maragos, the program director, I always reach out to him. He always reaches out to me, see how each other are doing. And it's just the relationships you form with the staff is remarkable.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and my experience as well, although I was moved side, a little bit bigger program, but yeah, I mean, some people that I still keep in touch with to this day. I mean, do you still have an opportunity to keep in touch with some of your classmates?
Yes, absolutely. Be it in whether they're still in the IOM field or have moved into other fields, still communicate with some of them as well. And, I consider them close friends as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, still in the IOM field, because based on the specialty of this program, it seems like this is something you can come out with a 4-year degree, and this could be your career. Talk about the career prospects in IOM, because I think a lot of people don't even realize that it exists.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right. You graduate with a 4-year degree. You graduate from the program, and you're ready to take your certification exam that allows you to be in the ORs, to say, hey, they have the training to do this. They are equipped and they have the knowledge to do this. And through Michigan, you can do this through secondary programs, or third parties or companies will offer these, but through Michigan, it kind of puts you at an advantage and a step above, because you're having this several year process of going through this. And you're absolutely right. You can make a career out of it. You can continue to specialize, and you can become more advanced within the field. There's tons of opportunity for research, being a newer field relative to medicine. There's always new things coming about. There's always research. There's always papers coming out on different topics. And there's always room for improvement on things that are already developed. So there's opportunities with that. There's opportunities at institutions or at third-party companies that go into hospitals. And within those institutions or those companies, you can help with recruiting. You can help with teaching and training and all of those things. So you're absolutely right. You have that ability to progress and make a full-time career out of this, be it staying in the ORs the whole time or continuing into teaching or research.
Awesome. Yeah, very, very diverse, very cool. Matt, that's great. I appreciate the education on IOM. I mean,
absolutely.
For myself, certainly, and everyone else who's listening. Well, to round this out, I'd like to kind of just maybe get some inspirational thoughts from you for the U of M community as a whole. Obviously, this is a tough time for everyone. We're struggling with COVID and social injustice and all these issues. You're right in the middle of all of the challenges in a hospital system. Leave us with some inspirational thoughts and words for your fellow Wolverines.
Absolutely. So, first, in terms of the times we're in, in terms of COVID, hang tough and stay safe. That's the key for everything. And then in terms of just kind of being a Wolverine, it's, I've lived in 4 different places since graduating from Michigan. I'll walk down, I could be the furthest city away from Ann Arbor, and you walk down the street in a Michigan shirt or a Michigan hat, and you'll always get a Go Blue. You'll always have a network of support. Of course, our alumni association, it just spreads across the country and across the world. So even if you're feeling alone, even if, you're feeling down, first of all, throw on a Michigan shirt or Michigan hat, because somebody's going to talk to you. Somebody's going to want to say something. And then, that's just embrace that, be part of the community and be part of the team.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much. Best of luck to you on your path in your surgical rotations and hopefully on to surgery as a whole. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. And thank you very much for having me.
Awesome.